Hello, everybody. Here with Keith Niemeyer today because Keith and I spent a week together last week at Calvin Theological Seminary. So, Keith, I'll just let you introduce yourself off the top and share a little bit about how you ended up in Classis, Wisconsin, there at Living Hope, and then how you ended up at Calvin Seminary after that. So, I'll just let you kind of catch us up on your story to start.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. So if you need to cut me off, feel free. I've got a slightly unique story. So I grew up in Kansas. I didn't even really start going to church or getting plugged into the church until probably freshman year of high school. And then I kind of dipping my toes a little bit that first year, but then just jumped in and got involved in the worship team and heavily involved in youth group, any weekend event. But in Kansas, at least at the time, there was that I was aware of no Reformed churches. And so I started American Baptist. And so got plugged in, went to college, wanted to pursue youth ministry. And so went to a 4-year college there and then moved to St. Louis to do seminary at Covenant Theological Seminary. I believe it was Presbyterian. And newly married, new city. My wife was trying to finish school. We were both trying to work full time, both in, I was in seminary.
Was the choice, was Covenant on the list just because of proximity?
No. So it had been, I had applied at, there's an American Baptist college and either miscommunication or something, but they claimed that they didn't even get my application, even though I paid the fees and everything. So anyway, my wife had some family in St. Louis. And so I had applied to probably 2 or 3 colleges, and that was one of them that accepted me. And so we tried. I only got 1 semester in and realized my wife and I aren't seeing each other. I'm not able to focus on school because I'm also trying to work full time. And so kind of put it on the back burner, ended up moving back to Kansas to be a youth pastor. And then ended up getting a job here in Wisconsin at an RCA church as worship and youth ministry. And so that was my first introduction to the Reformed churches here in Wisconsin. And I was there for about 3 years and then accepted a call to Living Hope doing worship ministry there as a CRC church. And so I was there for about a year and our pastor stepped down. And so I had a little bit of experience, pulpit supply and teaching. And so during that time, it was kind of like, hey, if you're willing, I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd love the opportunity and would love to grow. Now my wife, short backstory, my wife was a pastor's kid. And so understood the whole church dynamics. And so her stance was always like, you can do whatever you want in church, but I'm not going to be a pastor's wife. So you can be worship, you can do youth, whatever, but I don't want to be a pastor's wife. And so not that I had necessarily given up on that, but I was okay, whether that's associate pastor, worship, youth, whatever. And so was filling in, fell in love with crafting a sermon. I loved how much I was growing. Not that I could ever teach as much as I was learning, but I fell in love with the art and the practice of it. And then it was my wife who was like, hey, you're enjoying this. I can see it. You've got something. And so she kind of pushed me towards that. And so in the denomination, I had taken a year of the leadership development program or network, the LDN. Yeah. And so I did that for about a year and then was introduced to Coram Deo through Dave Beelan and was encouraged to consider that because it was an opportunity to learn and grow and then consider being a commission pastor. And then the denomination, when I was kind of walking through financial support with that, they encouraged me, like, if you're going to spend 3 years doing this, have you thought about seminary? And I told them, like, I've always had a dream of going back, but I just can't afford to. It's just not. You got a growing young family, obviously not getting paid a ton. And so it's just not something I can afford. And so they encouraged me to pray about it, consider it. And so I applied to Calvin, even just to find out, well, what is this going to cost? What's it going to look like? And then through the church's support, the denomination support, and a family member, it was one of those situations where it's like, money's no longer an excuse, so I can't say no.
Yeah.
And so so I went through that whole process of getting accepted and financially, it's all just kind of aligned for me right now. And so I just started my second year there. I'm one of the crazy ones trying to do it in 3 years. And so, we'll see, we'll see how that goes, but it's been a huge blessing. I've loved it. It's obviously been a challenge, but it's been really good so far.
Yeah. Our stories overlap in several ways, especially the seminary side of things. I was at TEDS for a few years, going really slow. I'm not doing what you're trying to do. And switching to Calvin, I have nothing bad to say about TEDS, by the way, but switching to Calvin financially has been wonderful for me because the denominational support and the classes support has been more than I could have asked or imagined. So I'm also thankful for that. I'm in my first year at Calvin Seminary, so I'm not as connected yet as probably you've gotten in a couple years. Your experience at the seminary as a distance learner, you've made a few trips out there now for our intensive weeks. What has your experience been like with the seminary, with Calvin in particular?
Sure. Yeah. So this would be my third time going to intensive week. And it was one of those when I first got accepted, I understood it's not all online. It's this hybrid program. So you're interacting with students. And then there was the expectation to go to the seminary. Never been to the state. Obviously, had never been to the seminary. And I'll be honest, at first, the question was why? Like, why do I have to? Like, I'm lucky and blessed that I work at a church that supports this, but I'm gone for a whole week, and so I got to figure out all these things, and so I didn't understand the why behind it, or really see the benefit. But after the first one, I was hooked because it was probably my favorite week of the whole semester. Because you're getting to meet the professors, you're getting to have face-to-face conversations, asking them questions. As someone who's a little bit more of a hands-on learner, it was great, especially doing the languages, so the Hebrew and Greek, but then also building the connections with the other students. And so Calvin, they put you in like formation groups. There's like a bigger overarching formation group and then a smaller one. So there's probably 6 or 7 in my formation group. And you meet through Zoom leading up to intensives, but then they have you. I almost call it forced friendship, but it's been a blessing. You get together with your formation group. You have lunch, I think 3 days, 2 or 3 days. You do an outing with them, and so it was really cool because it makes it a little more personal. Throughout the whole semester, you're responding to assignments, you're responding to classmates. You see their little picture in a bubble, but it felt pretty disconnected. Yeah. And so getting to meet them, build those connections and relationships. Even now, there's a few classmates that. It's probably leans a little more towards the venting or complaining, whining side, but there's a little bit of fellowship throughout the week. Like, hey, what do you think of this assignment? Or encouraging one another, or just building those friendships. And so, again, at first, I'm like, why are we doing this? Because unless you've got connections there for housing, like it is expensive, the travel and hotel and everything else. But it's been a huge blessing and something I look forward to.
Yeah, I was surprised at how comfortable I felt. Also, not, first time going for intensive weeks at the seminary in person, first year being at Calvin. I'd been there before for like worship symposium stuff, but never really spent any extended amount of time, and especially like free time, like unscheduled time in and around the seminary. It just felt really homely and comfortable, which maybe I shouldn't be surprised at, but I just was kind of caught off guard. I was like, yeah, I fit here. So I came back with just kind of a testimony of like, yeah, the seminary does like represent us little rural Wisconsin guys pretty well. Like, you just kind of think like, oh, here's this academic place, and it's not going to be like what we know over here on the other side of the lake. But it was like, yeah, this is the language I speak. This is the stuff I believe. these are my people, And I sucked
Yeah.
at Dutch bingo all week. I made one connection, but still, I felt comfortable. It shouldn't have shocked me, maybe, but I was pleased about that. Yeah.
Yeah. You probably got to meet way more Canadians than you ever knew existed.
Yeah,
But
there's so many Canadians. It's
oh,
like 50% Canadian
it's a lot. It's a lot.
amongst the distance learners.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Your plans are the same as mine to graduate spring of 27.
Yes. Yep.
If you've got any, I don't know that if I was asked this, I'd have an answer. But goals on the other side of graduation.
Nothing specifically, because right now I'm blessed because I'm at a church again that supports me, supports seminary, is hoping to find a way to continue allowing me to grow in my position, even with our new pastor supportive of allowing me to grow in preaching and pastoral care, things like that. And so, ultimately the goal is to survive the oral comps at the end of it and go through the ordination process, things like that. But as much as I love the classes and I love the studies, I am excited to have a little bit more freedom in my schedule at the end of seminary.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's one of those that in the middle of it's a lot, but at the same time, for me, at least compared to college, things like that, it's things that I'm really enjoying. It's things that I can turn around and use in ministry. And so I don't know if I have any super specific goals at the end of it yet, but looking forward to that.
Yeah, me either. I never did seminary to climb some ladder into some different position. It's just been a way to grow, like you mentioned, grow several times. That's what it's been about for me too. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, because of all the people I've had in this program, and maybe of all the people in the classes, we have a unique role in worship and tech that isn't super normal in Christian Reformed churches. I met a couple people that are doing a lot of tech stuff at their CRC churches at intensives, but you want to talk a little bit about how tech serves your church? How are you using tech? What's your vision for how tech kind of advances what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny because I was meeting with our new pastor yesterday and we kind of got on the subject, but the media side of things, especially in today's culture, is so important. I know for me, looking at potential churches, one of the first things I do is I go to the website, I watch some of the live stream or the sermons if they have them. And so I think that for a lot of churches, it's the front door more so than the physical front door of a church. Yeah. And so it's especially after COVID, I think everyone is like, we've got to become professional social media people overnight. But I was impressed, especially at Living Hope, because it's not a huge church, but their live stream looked great. You can only do so much sound wise, especially like during the praise team's time. But it's one of those that's been really good. We've been having some Wi-Fi issues and our live streams buffering or dropping, and so that's been kind of our we got to fix this, because if I'm a first time guest and I'm watching and all of a sudden it's buffering or the YouTube just shuts off, it can be a little bit of a detriment to those first time guests. But we're trying to find ways to be as creative as we can, but also not being perfectionist or making it more of a burden than a blessing, to the point where we're trying to do some videos that share who our church is, so we can put that on our website, or finding some behind the scenes type things to just kind of show a little bit more of who we are. But yeah, doing the tech side of things, I know for me, it's always been a joy, but there are some Sundays where it's like, I wish there was more of me, just because everyone's like, hey, can't get the right now media to work in this room. Can you help me with this? Or just kind of putting out a lot of little fires. Yeah. But it's such a huge part, especially right now, of representing what your church looks like, getting as real as you can, getting a feel for your service, so people can ease into joining in person or coming to visit.
Yeah. I think it's also an important tool, not just outreach-wise, like for people outside the church, but also like bringing some clarity to the gospel presentation for those already in the church. Like, are your screens an effective tool? Like, are they readable? One,
yeah.
But like, are they doing things that help people's minds connect to what's happening? Are the lights allowing them to see their Bibles and see the person preaching, baseline, and in what other ways are they helping to communicate about the emotions of the moment or a change in the liturgy? Like, these are things that we're trying to think through. Can we use the capability that we have now for changing color and lights to highlight the liturgical calendar throughout the year? And so like there's all these things we can do. And then you mentioned, like, is it a burden more than it's a blessing? I feel that too. Like, at what point is it like, yeah, I'm getting here an hour earlier than I used to because there's so much tech to set up and to check. You used to not have to mic a violin because it's a loud instrument, but now you got to mic it because it's got to come through on the stream. And so it's like all these extra steps. And to your point, a lot of this is highly specialized to a degree, where it's like, your average volunteer who's scheduled once a month is going to have a hard time understanding where all the SDI cables are going in the wall. And so there's a lot of there's burden. Like, I feel the burden of that, and we talked about that during the week a little bit. How do you manage that? Like, the extra stuff that gets put on your plate. Like, worship leading in a church like yours, a church like mine, isn't just singing the songs. It's all this other stuff, tech and making copies and video. Like, you got to be a video expert, a lighting expert, a sound expert, a computer expert, because you got to update drivers when ProPresenter doesn't work with your cards anymore. And like how do you manage all that on a Sunday morning when you've got 30 minutes to be ready?
Well, I'm one of the crazy ones. So like, our practice starts at 7:30, and if I'm not in the church by 5:30, that's pretty rare. Just because I'm the type that, like, I would much rather get there, everything's working, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs or scrolling through social media than frantic, because there's been a few times where things are messed up and I'm running around, and then that shows up in practice and that shows up during worship.
It does.
And so I try to get as much done throughout the week as I can. I never update ProPresenter on a Sunday. There's definitely things that we've learned.
Update, and I was like, I'm not doing it this time.
Nope.
I left.
Nope. Or if like Easter or Christmas Eve, like, you just wait until after those big things. But it's you can only prepare so much. We just had this last Good Friday. I got a phone call the morning of, and one of the elders was like, "Hey, just letting you know, the Wi-Fi isn't on. It's not working for some reason." And I'm like, "Oh, that's fine. Like, it's simple fix. I can figure it out." And so it's a simpler service, so I didn't get there quite as early, and I show up and we realize that nothing's working. The soundboard's fried, the stage boxes are messed up. And so we had gotten struck by lightning, and it had messed up a ton of stuff. And so then I'm scrambling, and we had to print out lyrics for music, and luckily I have way more gear than I need, but I had an extra soundboard, and so we made it work. But it reminded me of how important it is to have clear visuals, like you were saying, like things that show up during a sermon that are helping us picture things, or we don't have good attention span. So something to look at, or the sound, how good is sound coming through? Because if you can't hear something well, that's a problem. And so it's a weekly adventure, which I enjoy. But I also would love if technology always worked the way it was supposed to. Because even being gone, like I was gone the Sunday before intensive week, and you can do as much as possible to set them up for success, but then you never know what's going to happen. Sunday, somehow they unplugged one of the monitors in the tech booth. And so I'm getting a call like, hey, why isn't this screen working? I'm like, it was working before I left. I have no clue. Come to find out, it's a super simple fix, but they were scrambling, trying to like, how do we make this Sunday work? And so it's a unique world that we live in. But yet I enjoy finding ways to either improve things or do the best we can, while realizing that for most of our churches, we've got a bunch of volunteers. And like you said, if they're serving once a month, that's hard. That's hard to remember all the steps, but yet finding someone who wants to serve 3 times a month or every week, it's one of those things that we have to do what we can, realizing that it'll never be perfect. Yeah. Not that that's what we're pursuing, but doing the best we can for those that are attending or volunteering.
Yeah. That's the hardest part about being away from services for me, is the tech side of things. I know that there's people who can sing, there's people who can lead services, but it's like, how many people can troubleshoot a problem when, you flip a switch and it doesn't turn on the way it normally turns on? So you end up getting a call and trying to talk them through it, which is not always easy from afar. But
yeah.
And that, then the really bad weeks, I think, what if we just trashed it all and we went back to just the pastor should talk really loud and no visuals, no instruments, we'll just sing a cappella out of the book. But
yeah, it can work. It can work.
That's not the right attitude either. Anyways, Keith, we can pray for you or Living Hope.
Right now we're just blessed to have a pastor. It took a little bit, but he's transitioning well and looking forward to his ministry there. For me, it's just always finding that healthy balance between work and school and family time. So intensive week or around finals, things like that, like it's always hard to find that healthy balance of honoring my time at the church, honoring my time with studies, but then also remembering that family is important and making sure that that's a high priority and a ministry as well. So just finding that balance.
Yeah. Cool. Well, go update Pro Presenter. Thanks for your time today.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for inviting me and looking forward to keep watching all the things you're putting out.
Sweet. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.